You think women are, in fact, hard to write?
Yes, actually.
Okay, so you believe that to be the case. Now, you believe that to be the case because women are badly written historically and through literature.
I think that demonstrates it, that it has to be hard to write, because I see good authors write poor women.
Like?
I don't know if I want to say this out loud.
Do I want to say this?
I don't know if you'll disagree with me.
Lewis.
Well, okay.
Oh, that's fun. This is great.
Haven't seen violence inherent in the system. Help, help, I'm being repressed, bloody peasant. Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh? That's what I'm on about. Did you see him repressing me? You saw it?
Episode 2 of...
Help, help, we're being repressed.
Yes, episode 2 of Help, Help, We're Being Repressed. And episode 1, well, the title of this episode is There Is No Episode 1.
It is lost to posterity.
Gone forever due to camera failure. But I wasn't on that episode, so it doesn't really
doesn't matter.
This is your podcast.
Mm-hmm. We are people with a podcast now.
Yep.
A little sad, but, you know.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Let's work Scoot in a little bit. Actually, don't scoot in because he's probably framed you already. There we go. You're fine. Just move a little on the mic.
Scoot my mic in too?
Sure. Yeah, there we go. So, girls, what should we talk about? This is your podcast now. You're not on mine. Although I am definitely going to share this because Brian is out of town. So I'm going to post this as a Stories or Soul Food special edition. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll try to thieve it. But this is episode 2, titled There Is No Episode 1. What are we talking about?
Well, probably books and movies.
Maybe.
That is what we do in this family, right?
Let's talk about movie adaptations.
Yeah, that's what we were actually going to talk about.
Yeah, that was the plan.
Okay. Go.
She can lead as the elder
Thank
sister.
you.
I'll let her start the conversation.
Anywho, we wanted to talk about book-to-movie adaptations, some examples of done well, done poorly, and what's the difference. And one of the things that we mentioned in our disappeared episode...
No, there is no episode 1. Just mention it for the first time right now.
Okay. For the
She
first
has
time
original
ever,
thoughts.
for the first time ever, I am thinking about what you need to preserve from a book to a movie. Ameera, you've commented before about how when you're drawing something, when you're drawing a cartoon of someone, a big important thing is what do you exaggerate and what do you diminish, what do you keep the same in order to preserve what a person looks like.
Well, yeah, it's a caricature. When you're doing a caricature, if you exaggerate the correct things, it will look a lot like them. If you exaggerate the wrong things, it won't.
Yeah, if you got a baby nose person with big eyes and you do your caricature, they got normal sized eyes and a giant nose, it simply won't look like them. And it's the same thing with a book where you have to pick, it's like, okay, what qualities make this book what it is and must be kept and or exaggerated versus what can you mess with without destroying the original point or the original feeling of a book.
Yeah, and when we're talking about caricatures, I think the one we have specifically in mind is Emma, where you have the 2 different movie versions. I think there's a third.
But we haven't watched it.
But we haven't watched it, with is the Gwyneth Paltrow one. And then there's the newer one with
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anya Taylor-Joy. And you have the Anya Taylor-Joy one, I think it's 2020 version. And the strange thing about that is they make everybody caricatures. So they exaggerate it. Everything's like this weird storybook feel. Like
everything's exaggerated.
Yeah, and I actually...
like costume and color.
Yeah, I actually didn't mind that. I didn't mind the exaggeration of everything. I just thought they exaggerated the wrong things. So you have this very... Okay, which do you think is the best example of this? Which character?
Emma.
Where you have the character who is like this spunky, like confident, very proud girl.
Very accomplished woman.
And they choose to exaggerate her nasty qualities. And then you don't exaggerate the ones that actually define her character.
Yeah, so that movie loses a lot of the message and nuance of the original. So not just in Emma, but in Emma's relationship with Harriet.
Don't just say that and run.
Well, I'm going to go back to it.
But let's not go back to it. Let's start there.
I was going to go back to it in that sentence.
Fine. Go.
Where I was going to do a little comparison.
Go ahead.
Because a big thing in the book is exploring female flaws in friendship,
Right.
specifically with Emma and Harriet,
Yeah.
where Harriet in the book is very pretty, very kind, stupid, low-class, uneducated orphan girl.
Is she very pretty in the book?
Yes. Which
That's
everyone,
funny
everyone
that I
none of the
forgets.
movies.
It's funny that I don't remember that.
Yeah, no,
Because
she's
Because the
very pretty.
movies.
yeah.
And Emma is this accomplished, high-class woman who befriends Harriet. And while sure she's definitely manipulative in the book, she actually has a sincere friendship with Harriet, where she looks at Harriet being beautiful and kind, and it's like, my friend deserves the world. She is better than her class. She deserves better than this. And is trying to set her up with higher class, more educated guys.
In the book, why would you think that she believes that?
Well, I think women frequently have that kind of blindness towards their friends where they see the strengths as being like incredibly worth everything and then just don't pay attention to the certain
I think you can
weaknesses.
say you see that in the book because the reason Emma befriends her is partially for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because she looks at her and she sees how sweet she is, how beautiful she is, and she sees those qualities and is immediately like, oh, I can raise her station. So it's like, by my friendship with this girl. So you can say it's a sincere friendship, but it's definitely a friendship with a power dynamic.
For sure.
So it's
Yeah.
her, the reason she befriends her is because she thinks that those qualities mean that she can have a higher class station. And she'll find her a man and it'll be great. But then she does the exact thing where she sees those qualities in her friend, Harriet, and then is like, okay, these class distinctions don't matter, however, because she's beautiful and sweet. But then she condemns the farmer, who's also good looking and sweet,
Very
because
nice
of his
guy.
class station.
Yeah.
So it's a very obvious like contrast because she befriends this girl and then refuses the man for the exact.
But do you think
Opposite
that
reasons.
Austen actually explores? Is she saying of Emma that women collectively do this? Is she making a universal statement, or is she saying very specifically Emma as a unique character does this?
I would think that it's an example of something that many women do.
Yeah.
And so she's giving you like scenario.
Have you seen it in your own lives?
Yes.
I know I have.
You
I
see it in you see it in your own life, you see it on the internet, the amount of women that go like, she's beautiful, so she deserves everything. She's sweet, she deserves everything. My friend deserves the world. The 6'5", blue eyes.
Job and finance.
Job and
Yeah,
finance.
That's what we want.
That's what you deserve for existing as beautiful and kind.
I don't know if Jane Austen would necessarily be saying this of all women, but she does create a character that I think a lot of women could learn from.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at that lesson,
And
I don't
would
know-
recognize.
and would recognize.
So does she explore it in Emma specifically? Like why Emma sees it this way? Why she believes that Harriet deserves better? Does she just say it's her looks and her sweetness, or is it because she is Emma's friend and Emma deserves better, and so her friends is like it's more hubristic?
I would say it's that. It's just that through the book you see what Harriet's strengths are and what Harriet's weaknesses are, and that beauty and kindness are the strengths. So that's what Emma would point to, but it is kind of from the pride of being Emma's friend, and my friend will elevate. My friend will elevate
exactly.
you.
So it doesn't. And I haven't not read Emma in some time. It is a really good book. I've read it probably 4 or 5 times, but not in the last few years. But it struck me then, and this back to the movie adaptation, at least in the Gwyneth Paltrow version, to be based on Emma's pride and her entitlement and her status. Now, I have seen girls wield a little authority in the lives of their friends before.
Yep.
Where a guy is pursuing a friend, and it's worse. It's not so classist as it once was. It's actually just, I have the ick about that guy.
And I have the power to make you not.
Yes. And so I can poison this because I don't like him and I don't want him in our friend group. And so, you know, it's sort of like I don't want you to go be of his tribe and go be a matriarch over there in his tribe because I don't like him. And so I don't want to, I don't want to actually have to talk to him or be around him or have him at barbecues.
So Emma the book does a really good job of depicting that sort of thing that you see in reality. But then when you compare it to the movies, both movies kind of mess it up. Gwyneth Paltrow's way less. Like you said, you definitely get that impression of like her pride kind of making her be really unnecessarily involved in her friends' romances and like.
It's very, very controlling.
It's very, very controlling and prideful. But in that movie, they make Harriet this little dumpy, dumb, socially awkward thing.
Yeah.
And then they make Mr. Elton basically an introverted Mr. Collins.
Which is, let's be honest, a better Mr. Collins.
Yeah, we want him less
we
out
want
there.
less Mr. Collins.
If there were an introvert switch that we could flip on Mr. Collins,
we would flip it.
Yes.
But because of that, it changes the situation where Mr. Elton does not seem out of Harriet's league at all because he's also really awkward and stupid.
Yeah, it makes it purely class.
And ugly. So you're sitting here being like, this isn't actually Emma wanting something better for her friend. She's trying to it's just the manipulation because he's not better at all.
It makes it just a weird dynamic. It's just not entirely reflective of the book.
And it makes it less of an honest friendship. But just because she's manipulative, she needs to be humbled. But she does like Harriet, and this weird playing with people way beneath her that happens in the Gwyneth Paltrow isn't a great representation. It just destroys some of the subtlety of the situation, where girls will look at it and it'll seem really obvious instead of the book where they might look at it and be like, well, I don't know.
So let's talk about if we're boiling it down, what you were saying about caricatures, the wrong things were exaggerated. Which things were exaggerated that were wrong?
Well, that we're talking dominantly about the 2020 version.
Yeah.
The Gwyneth Paltrow, they just made a couple of changes that changed the situation rather than exaggerations. Like they just changed the character of Mr. Elton. They exaggerated the bad qualities of Harriet, so that'd be one exaggeration. But the Anya Taylor-Joy one, they did a much better job with Mr. Elton.
Yeah, he actually was a guy that it was a distinction. Like he was a more social, more like actually.
And sure, she realized later that like Mr. Elton is not a great guy, and she was kind of blind to that. But it makes sense that she was blind to that for a little. That she thought that this could be a good match for her friend. But what they exaggerate in that one is, once again, they exaggerate Harriet's bad qualities to make it easier for everybody to tell that Harriet should be with the farmer, not one of the lords. So she's, once again, kind of dumpy and awkward.
I think one of the incorrect exaggerations that you can see is in Mr. Knightley, where there's this character of Mr. Knightley in the book is he's kind of sardonic. He's very clever. He definitely is aware of Emma's flaws.
He's the only one who sees through her.
Yes, unlike everyone else. In his character in the 2020 version, they mostly just exaggerate his, he's very much a simp for Emma. Like, they exaggerate this quality in him that wasn't actually there.
Well, how much he loves Emma is way...
No, I wouldn't say love.
I'm saying the romanticness of it, like the swoonery.
I think it's a submissiveness.
Swoonery.
A submissiveness to
Word
Emma.
of the day.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think it's a submissiveness to Emma.
Yeah.
Which was
the
never
opposite.
that was the exact opposite of the character in the book.
Yeah.
Which was the only person that Emma could potentially submit to was Mr. Knightley in the book.
That was an exaggeration that I thought was completely incorrect, since everything was exaggerated in the movie.
So if they're wrong about that, they exaggerated. I mean, if you said earlier, your example was like if somebody has a little nose and big eyes and you.
Yeah, so they stepped up as I said, swoonery and stepped back all of the sees through what she's doing and dry humor and
I think I used
confidence.
When you're talking about exaggerations, you can specifically look at that movie just for the example because everything in that movie was turned up.
Were you talking about 2020?
Yes, sorry, 2020.
Yeah.
Where it's everything in that movie was increased to 11, even the setting.
The casting.
The
it's all very,
casting.
very unique looking people.
Yeah. So everything was already caricatured. And so you see these characters, they're all caricatures. So when I say it's exaggerated, it's it kind of
stepped up.
Yeah, everything was stepped up and increased.
And Emma in particular, they toned down all of her social grace and cleverness.
Yeah. She was just nasty.
And it stepped up stepped up the manipulation, the self-absorption, and the pride.
They gave her no reason to actually have the pride.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
she was just out there being mean to everybody because she's richer.
Yeah. So it's like in the book, she's a much more sympathetic and likable character.
But she is actually a pretty superior person.
Yes, she's actually very clever, very beautiful.
There's a reason she's
single
prideful.
and rich, and like, yeah, she takes care of her dad. Like, there's a reason she likes herself a little too much. She also had like successfully arranged matchmaking. Like there was
they did that in the movie though.
Yeah, but there was reasons.
Yeah.
There was
But then
also shock.
Yes.
At Mr. Elton liking her because she's like, the way you could think you're in my league.
Yeah.
Seriously?
But then you look at the movie and it's like,
you really think that you're that much better than him? You're kind of just a jerk.
she's just an extremely unlikable character. And so I think when Lucia was talking about nuance, it's like it really just takes that away. Because Jane Austen is very, very clever when she's making her characters. And there's a lot that she sees, and I think especially female nature, that a lot of authors do not get to because girls are kind of hard to write. But
why do you think that's true?
I got my answer for that.
She actually
Hold on. I just want to say, A, why do you think that's true?
Why do I think it's true?
That statement. And then B would be, why do you think that's true? I mean, like, is that true? Why do you believe that to be
is it true? And then,
yeah, why do you believe that to be true? And then why do you believe that to be true? Like, what is...
I think it is true in one of those senses. I don't remember which one came first. Because of just reading books and watching movies, female characters, especially modern ones, though maybe this is all the feminist influence and everything, I don't see a lot of female characters that girls can aspire to be.
I could also say female characters are bad all the way back in literature.
Yeah,
actually.
So
how many
modern,
books do you read and it's a girl and you go, I've met that girl? Like, that's actually a real complex female character. And that happens very infrequently to me. Consistently with Jane Austen.
Or characters that you would aspire to be. Like a good female character. One that you'd want to be. But also just a true one.
I mean, obviously the Bronte sisters nail it.
Oh my gosh.
But sorry. Poking at Bruce.
I hate Jane Eyre. Just for the outside world to know.
She explored Hillsdale's English department just to tell everybody that their favorite book is the worst. Because it's all of their favorite
Let's back
books.
off of Jane Eyre. I didn't mean to derail you. Or the Brontes. So if we're talking about...
You hit a button.
We started with 2. You think women are, in fact, hard to write.
Yes, actually.
Okay, so you believe that to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Women are hard to write. Now, you believe that to be the case because women are badly written historically and through literature.
I think that demonstrates it, that it has to be hard to write, because
hypothesis.
I see good authors write poor women.
Like...
I don't know if I want to say this out loud.
Do I want to say this?
I don't know if you'll disagree with me.
Lewis.
Well, okay.
Oh, that's fun. This is great.
Or like...
Lewis, actually...
She actually can write some very good women. It's
Dorothy
just that
Sayers. Agatha Christie sometimes. But actually, hers are all exaggerated.
Dorothy
so
Sayers
like
doesn't like women.
Yeah.
No. See, this is when you get to, why are women hard to write?
No, but that's
Can we
almost. I'm still on, are they hard to write?
Are they hard? Are they actually difficult to write? Well, I mean, I think if you look at a lot of authors, they don't write them well. And I think the second question of why are they hard to write kind of answers the first one, like whether they actually are.
I think I wrote Hermione quite well.
Okay, that was beautiful.
Good job,
yes,
Dad.
Well done, Dad.
Well done,
You did great. No errors.
Booyah.
Full points.
10 out of 10. Full points for the Witch Queen.
But
well, okay, because I think I like Lucia has her little pithy statement, so
we'll get to that. I'm holding you off.
this answers the question,
to make
Dad.
sure that Ameera
I don't
talks
believe
enough.
You don't believe me? Okay, well then
Almost.
I can say it if you want me to.
No, I don't.
You want to say my thing?
No, we're going to come
This
here.
is why I think
I'm
women are
holding you
hard
back.
to write.
I don't think they are.
They are hard for men to write,
I don't think they are.
and they are hard for women to write.
I don't think they are. So I'm hung up on statement
have I
1.
not?
Dad, how many good women do you read in literature?
How many good women? Countless.
Well written.
Countless. Name them.
Maisie Dobbs.
Okay. Like
To say that they're...
I don't love
She
that
just-
actually.
No, I know, but she just popped in my head. I would make a bigger case. I also would not dispute. I would not dispute at all that women are traditionally pretty badly written.
Okay.
So
we agree there.
I agree that on the historicity of your claim that women are not very
So
well
you just
written,
don't think that points to the difficulty in writing?
I don't think it points to something in the nature of women
Well,
that makes
Okay,
them difficult
how
to
about
write.
I say people fail to write women? How's that?
Okay,
Is that a better
historically we're going to
statement?
agree
Is that
on.
better?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
historically. Now, you might still be correct. It might just be hard to write
Here's the thing.
women.
I don't really write, so maybe I shouldn't try
You get
to
to be
make
no.
that
You can
claim.
be probably more objective. But the point is that if women are harder to write,
Yeah.
and that's one hypothesis about the cause of what we see,
Why
which is
people fail
women
to
have
write
been
them.
badly written.
Yeah.
So women have been very badly written for a very long time. Agreed.
since always.
Okay.
Clytemnestra was compelling.
Yes, actually,
True.
I love her.
The ancient Greeks got a couple.
Medea also.
Medea's relatable.
Okay.
Arachne.
There's some cool ones in mythology.
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
So, but what I'm saying is, if we go way, way, way back.
Wait.
So if you start scrolling back and you
Yeah.
start, when did women become
Difficult.
hard to write?
Yeah.
So when we're getting from when Odysseus is on his way home,
Okay, Penelope's pretty cool.
yeah, and he's trying to get to Penelope.
What a queen.
Is pretty
Yeah.
compelling. But then you think about his journey. It's like, is Circe interesting?
Not really.
Yeah, she is. She's
Some people make her
she's
interesting.
weird. She's
She's
wild.
very
She is
peculiar.
Calypso, not so much.
No.
Not so much interesting. But basic seduction, kind of simple. Circe's
Typical.
got a little more complexity. But when you go back, did the ancients get women wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Were their women compelling? Now, it doesn't mean they were accurate or not. So the thing about
Okay.
hard to write, which means hard to capture accurately,
Yes.
and hard to convey accurately, we don't really know, right?
yeah, okay.
We can't really know whether or not they were captured and conveyed accurately because we don't know the women. Now, what we can say is we generally find female characters in literature across the last few centuries to be pretty uncompelling,
Yeah, pretty bad.
right? They feel a little paper dollish,
For sure.
okay? Agreed.
Okay.
But then the hypothesis of cause
yeah.
is that would get you to your truth claim that women are hard to write is that the reason why they're paper dollish is because they're difficult subjects.
Yeah.
That's something I kind of disagree with.
I mean, I think
Maybe.
actually,
I could be convinced, but maybe.
Okay.
I think generally you can say they're hard to write, but for most people it's hard to write any character compellingly. So it's not actually a wild statement.
No, it's not wild, but it is a hypothesis.
Dad is like, writing is easy, actually. Everybody who's bad at writing, it's your fault.
Sure.
It's not actually okay. So
But-
Signs
people-
off on that.
let's go with people fail to write women correctly.
Can we roll
How's
with that?
Historically, women have
Historically.
been written recently. I would say in the recent centuries, women have been pretty uninteresting.
Okay, I will.
As
we
long
can
as
all
by
agree.
recent you're going back to the 1500s.
Okay. Yeah, I actually am.
Okay, cool.
Going to the 1500s. I'm not going BC.
Now we can go to our second thing, which is why.
Yeah. Why are women?
And I'll let Lucia have her pithy
now
speech.
sorry-
You
Hey,
really
by the
like
way,
ramped this up now?
Thanks for being patient. Well, I picked at the cheap sweater, pulling at it.
okay.
Like, this is
How
is
dare you call her sweater cheap?
she's not wearing one, so
I know.
luckily it's not personal. Now the thing
This
is,
is a hand-me-down.
this
so.
is actually kind
From
of
who?
Mom.
This is one of the things that we have done where it's like you're not going to just pop
Make a
off.
claim.
It actually is important because as one who pops off all the time, and I have passed that
Popping
gene
off.
on to my children. It's important to have the tires kicked.
Yeah, I like
when
to
you're,
say
when
things.
you're popping
Okay.
off. So you might be totally correct. Women
Thank you.
might be hard to write.
I can't
But
prove
that
it
is
though.
not yet. It's a case that we probably don't have time to make completely, and it would involve a whole lot of gender analysis and the nature of femininity and masculinity and the dynamics of man and woman.
This podcast is not going to last that long.
So it's not going to. Eve, for example, kind of complicated, right?
Slightly.
This is a little bit complicated.
Milton
but also,
didn't get it entirely.
No, he pooched it. But Eve in Scripture is
That was-
complex.
God was helping.
It was complex. Eve was complex right there, and also universal. Like she's doing things that are pretty universal in dynamics with her husband and so on. Anyway, we're moving into why. I want to hear the why
But
now.
I just wanted to say that you can comfort yourself on the fact that at Hillsdale, when I'd pop off, Ameera appointed herself my tire kicker because no one else would kick my tires.
I'm like, where'd you get that?
I'm like, here is something I made up. And Ameera's like,
kick. It's dangerous when
Anywho.
you make something up together and there's no one
No
to
one
kick
to
it
stop
up.
us.
no one can
So,
stop
for
us.
example, when you reach episode 3 of your podcast,
and you're not here
And
to
I'm
tell
not here
us
to kick the
no.
tires. Boy, you're gonna run amok, aren't you?
Just tell everyone falsehoods.
Yeah. Okay.
Spinning tails.
Let's hear it.
Anywho, we really like ramped up for this. It's not that deep. It's just my short answer when people have asked me like why I think women are written worse as a rule is men don't understand women and women lie about women. And that's kind of the short answer. But it's not that men
He looks doubtful. Dubious.
dubious. It's not that men can't understand women. It's just that
They often
really this holds for any sort of understanding a person not like yourself, regardless of gender, is that you have to do it deliberately. You don't just, when someone is just not like you can't just base level understand them unless you got great intuition, which most people don't. You actually have to be deliberate about it. And it is demonstrated in much writing and many memes that men do not understand women.
I mean, I think you can also see that women...
Many memes.
Many memes.
Yeah.
She likes the memes. But I think you also see when
dare
women write men, there's a similar issue. So it's not like it's a one-way street.
Mhm.
Because it's... there are women who write men great. I think P.D.
Who?
James Douglas, I think is a great... I like him. But
Of course you do. He's written by a woman.
yeah, that's exactly why. Well, that's
Oh,
why
I
that's
hate
a
men
phrase.
written by women.
That's why that's
Actually,
a phrase.
Douglas is fun.
Men written by women, women written by men. People fuss about it.
So Douglas is a character who does not exist on the planet. He's not real.
That's actually a
But-
common problem with men written by women.
Yeah, but the fact
But
is,
he
I
is,
do
but
think
could
he's-
be.
But
We're saying
yeah.
that the writing the opposite gender goes both ways. But then when you're on the women's side, women get in their own head. We love ourselves a good self-deception. We don't really want to be honest about our behavior.
Or
And,
intention.
Or
Like,
intention.
so honest about motivation and intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I remember having a wee bit of a fight with my older brother over whether or not I can say someone is motivated by X, Y, and Z if they could not admit that in their own heads. If they've like completely thoroughly self-deceived. And he was like, no, because if they actually don't think that's why, then it's not why. I'm like, you do not understand women, my brother.
We can
Or
lie
men.
to
Actually,
ourselves.
we can
Yeah,
just
like
go say
we can
men.
all lie to ourselves.
But women do not like being honest about their flaws, their intentions, their motivations, anything. So you come across very few women writers who are fully honest.
I need you both to read My Dear Hemlock if you haven't yet.
I've read a part of it.
Will do. But I think Jane Austen is an exception to the general rule.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because her
She's
women are
very
incredible
honest.
and are extremely, and her men are good too.
Yeah.
We
don't-
think.
I think so. Like, I think Pride and Prejudice, which is another one with a movie adaptation.
Look at you going with a word that doesn't exist.
No,
She
I
Googled
Googled
it.
it because you said no,
'Cause you
and
said-
it is another word for adaptation. So I was actually completely...
In common parlance, when people misspeak,
No, you're popping off with common parlance.
adaptation
colloquial
or
parlance.
adaptation, according to Google, which is fine.
Let's stick with adaptation.
It's
Let's
just
try to
so-
keep it classy here.
so many
Adaptation.
syllables.
Adaption.
Adaptation. So there's another one for Pride and Prejudice, which
Several.
we can also talk about. But it's just, she has really brilliantly written characters which show flaws in women that are common or sometimes...
Real.
Yeah, they're very real characters. Where you can see in Lizzie, in Pride and Prejudice, like an actually great character. Like she's fun, she's witty, she's smart, but she also has real flaws. And she's also, prejudiced, because that's the title of the book.
I think she's the proud one.
Well, they're both.
They actually are both. It
Joking.
works both ways.
Yeah.
But she's really brilliantly written. But you also see that she can capture men. I think I see this the most, and I think this is where a lot of adaptations can fail with Pride and Prejudice, is in Mr. Bennet, who I think is also a very well-written character in the book. Where you see him, he seems like the least bad of the Bennet family in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But you also see in the book how much he is a driving factor in all of the problems.
Well, he is the underlying cause.
Lizzie
He
blames
is-
him in the book.
Lizzie is like, explicitly tells him, like, this is your fault. And it's, I think it's very...
Not in most of the movies.
No,
for
most
sure.
most of the movies, or at least even in the long
How many other
one,
movies have you seen? We also should,
Like 5.
We shouldn't get
I
off
kid you
of
not.
Emma, honestly. We shouldn't get too derailed. But
Too
this is
derailed,
interesting.
okay.
Go ahead and finish your Bennett thought because I find it
I've seen,
interesting.
so
like,
in
every
like
Pride
in
and
like the
Prejudice.
super long one, the like 5-hour
BBC.
BBC version, they are like strictly 1-to-1 to the book for the most part. However, their Mr. Bennett character is like just the jolly guy who's kind of chill,
Little sarcastic.
sarcastic, kind of more like Lizzie, likes Lizzie a lot, loves her, and just is there, is present. There's all these silly women doing things around him, and
It's all
he's
the
not.
women's fault, really.
It's yeah, there are these spazzes in the background. He just deals with Mrs. Bennett, which is completely not what's in the book. In the book, he's this guy who fell for a beautiful girl, not thinking about how silly and stupid she was, and then resigned himself to this life without putting any effort into controlling his family.
Would never fix anything. Would
Yeah.
just leave.
I think resigned is the word that just describes him. Like, he just accepts every problem and doesn't do anything active to change anything.
So when your 16-year-old runs off with a soldier who's been around the town,
It's Darcy
It's-
who has to go fix the
yeah,
problem.
and it is
Yeah.
Mr. Bennett's fault, is what the
Yeah.
book does.
So that's a big thing where I'm like, so Jane Austen is very good at writing women. She's also good at writing men. She's just a very good writer. And a lot of the movies that can come out of it, they make it much, much more simplistic.
They don't see or preserve a lot of the nuance.
Well, I mean, of course, a lot of the nuance is hard to put into a movie because you don't have all of the narration. You
So-
don't have a lot of things.
Do you think that Emma is as well written as Lizzie
Emma,
as a character?
I think she is.
I think so.
Is Knightley as well written as any of the male characters in Pride and Prejudice?
I'm not
Bingley, Darcy, Collins,
I think-
Wickham, Bennett.
I think Knightley is significantly less flawed than all our other men. So that's one thing that
He's older and he's into a chick that's very young, so that's a
Well,
flaw.
We're looking past that.
Well,
Yeah,
he's like 35 or something, and she's
Yeah, what's
like
he been-
19. She's 20. She's 21.
But
Okay.
but
Still, it's not.
What's he
It's-
been
and-
doing? What's he been doing? This
Well-
35-year-old.
Kind of the thing in Emma is that neither of them have anyone else who can match them in terms of wit and observation and cleverness. And
He was
so
waiting
he's
for her to grow up.
oh my gosh, don't say it like that.
It's not good.
I mean, in real
Culture.
life, I'd judge. But
Culture.
but it's just like
Don't love that age gap. there.
he's so easily spots the silliness in girls that he's just never found anybody.
I don't think he's as complicated of a character.
But yeah, he's definitely less complex, but I like him.
I feel
There's
like
a little more. So the thing is, there's a little more realism in Pride and Prejudice to
Yes.
me because you get some of the scandal, and she is not in for vice tourism. Like she's not here to, titillate or scandalize. She is not here to get you into the drama the way a lot of Gothic romance novelists would, or
Yeah.
romantics have since, where the sexualization and the heightened emotion, it's there. It's just she refuses to look at it. But the
Yeah.
fact is, it's even less realism over with Knightley, where with Darcy, we kind of have this whole saga and we have his whole backstory. And
Yeah.
we have his aunt and we have his sister.
There's all
and
the
we have-
The
complications.
social pressures,
And,
all the things.
but we also know what he's been up to. Like he's been,
Knightley just isn't fleshed out.
yeah, there's not a, it's not just that there's not a backstory. I don't feel like Darcy's had a string of mistresses. Like when you
No.
when you read that character
No.
and you look at what he's dealing with Knightley, I don't know.
He could.
He may have.
You
Like
don't know.
you just don't know how dumb his 20s were or what he was doing. Like you just don't know. No, you don't have to know. But with Darcy, you see him that he has been nosed the darkness for a while. And he's been dealing with darkness. And with Knightley, we live in a world where there is no darkness.
Yeah.
See, I think the thing is with Darcy, he's actually a character with his own arc. Versus Knightley and Emma is only there to create Emma's arc.
Emma's about Emma.
So the reason why I went down this road is because you talked about Jane Austen being good at writing men as well.
I'm just saying she's not bad.
She's good at Darcy. She was,
Yeah.
and I will say in Pride and Prejudice, it's like, well, she's showing off because Wickham
Yeah.
is really well done. Bennett, Mr. Bennett's very well done. Bingley is well done. Darcy, obviously, also well done. And
Yeah.
Mr. Collins is legendary.
He's
So
hilarious.
we have 5 out of 5, and it's actually uniquely difficult as a writer, see, writing's not always easy. It's uniquely difficult to hit distinct flavors, like truly distinct flavors, and understand and communicate totally different men, totally different women in the same world and in the same ecosystem, where they don't just start to share or echo your voice. And so when you're trying to keep them distinct flavors, and you're trying to keep the food on your plate separate and not let it bleed into each other and become one goulash-y thing, what she did in Pride and Prejudice is very, very hard to do. Now, I think there's weaknesses in the novel. I think there are plenty of weaknesses in the novel.
The end.
Yeah, that's one of them. But if we jump over to Emma and we stay there and we talk about the adaptation again, which I think is really interesting. You have talked about Emma is genuinely beautiful. She's clever. She's witty. She's all these things. She's not just evil for no reason. She is this Olympic class person. Like, in terms of women, she's just at the top. She's a legit
queen of the social scene.
Yeah, she's pegging the meter.
Yeah.
And so she's tempted to pride as a result of that, because of her actual qualities. So she's proud and all these things. But then she has a girl that she sees who's really beautiful and sweet, and she pulls her into her social sphere and thinks that her pride extends now. Her pride now extends to include her friends. And that's the thing that I've seen girls do all the time, where they try to flex. And it's not always their pride. It's just, it can be any number of things. But in the end, it's control. And so you're trying to control something for
control's sake,
for somebody else. Is Harriet an interesting character in the book?
No,
Not
I don't think
super.
she is.
But it's not because she's
Then I ask you,
bad.
why is she so hard to write, that Harriet?
No, but I don't think she's a badly written character. It's just who she is and who she's supposed to be in the story. Is just the simple country girl sort of thing. And she's inclined to a bit of silliness and really, really over-admires her friend because of the huge power dynamic. And so she just is a simpler girl.
Not every character who's not like super fleshed out, I think, is badly written. It's like there's nothing, especially when they're a side character. Like, I feel like Harriet in a lot of ways help, like similar to Knightley, helps with Emma's arc. So the book, I mean, obviously it's called Emma.
Met
like,
Harriet.
Well, also Harriet's the forbidden fruit. Harriet is
Exactly.
her mistake. She represents.
Yeah,
them.
but I'm like,
Yeah.
I've met Harriet's too. I've met Emma's. I've met Harriet's, and
Do
a lot
they
of like
belong
little
in stories? Should they? Should a true Harriet make it into a novel?
Yeah. Why not?
what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with Harriet?
Okay.
They're great for Mr. Martins.
Yeah.
Okay. So
No,
you,
because they're good girls. It's just that Emma's wrong about her and what she should be doing.
you've met girls who are really pretty, really sweet,
Who are pretty sweet,
and
kind of dumb.
are in somebody else's orbit,
Yes, I have.
completely controlled
Mhm.
by their friend,
Yeah.
who is prettier.
Also, she does kind of get out of the control.
Yeah, she does.
Mhm.
Have you met any Harriets who've done that?
No. Normally,
Actually, yes.
normally the
I
Harriets who
have.
get out, I feel like
If they
somebody
find a
else.
guy?
Yeah, it's more like somebody else took them out.
That kind of helps. That happens.
It does. You can
There was
think
a
of one?
rescue mission.
Yeah.
You can think of one? You got one in your head?
I can.
A Harriet.
You're gonna
who
have to tell me who
was
later.
rescued from the
From an
control of an Emma by a dude.
Yep.
And was that dude a Wickham
No.
or a Mr. Martin?
Mr. Martin.
Oh.
And it's sweet.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
It's
like,
like actually not bad.
No, yeah,
they're
sure.
when I'm like, you want complex characters. Not everyone is equally complex in real life.
No, of course not.
So there are just simple people. But then, of course, there are like Mary Sue's in literature where you're like, is that a real person
It's just
or
a
is that just a little good girl?
stand-in for a woman versus someone who actually could be.
But yeah, but there are simple, real characters as well.
Okay.
And I think Harriet's one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I'll buy.
I would say the book obviously is worth reading.
Mhm.
The older movie is worth watching.
I was building a tiger trap for you.
You
Oh,
were?
no, not a tiger
Do you want me to
trap.
fall
It
in?
didn't
Okay.
work. You
Oh,
know.
what is the tiger
I can
trap?
jump.
Well, no.
We like jumping into tiger
The point
traps.
with Harriet is I find Harriet incredibly uninteresting as a character.
She is uninteresting. But that's
Yeah.
part of the point, isn't it?
Well,
That's one of her weaknesses, is that she's just less interesting of a person. And Emma's like, well, I can fix that. I'm your friend.
No, she's way more interesting because she's my friend. The most interesting.
Yes, exactly.
And so the most interesting thing about Harriet is that she's Emma's friend.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so why wouldn't you want Harriet?
Yeah, in the book, Emma will go and they'll be talking to Mr. Elton. And Mr. Elton is talking to Emma because she's actually lively and interesting. And then they'll go away and Emma will be like, wow, he was looking so much at you, Harriet. It's like, she's not supposed to be interesting. She's supposed to be the character who's not interesting.
The only times Mr. Elton would refer to Harriet is when Emma's like, look at Harriet. Don't you think that's pretty? And he goes, yeah, Emma, you're always right.
You're not supposed to be looking at Harriet.
You're
always right.
Oh, boy.
So I don't know what the tiger trap was for.
No, it's okay. I folded. It didn't work.
We won, Ameera.
You won on that. You successfully charted a course of wisdom, and it was convincing.
Thank you.
But I'll say this though, I do think that Knightley is not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of fun to be in there, but not very interesting. Yeah.
I don't think it helps that he's named Knightley.
Yeah.
The White Knight.
It's a little bit. Come
nose.
on, Jane.
Well, she did name her
the prettiest character
after
Jane.
herself.
But let's hop through literature, shall we?
So
a little bit.
Okay.
Give me some big ones, some big names, some classics that Lewis can be one of them that you think is bad at writing women.
Bad at writing women. Okay, now I have to think. Forget every
Also,
book
I
I've
just
ever
have
read.
to say about Lewis, I kind of say that to
Raymond Chandler
ruffle feathers.
writes them well.
Raymond Chandler.
No, I love him, but
I love
no.
Raymond Chandler.
100%, he does a great job.
He does. It's just that he writes bad women.
Okay, that's fair.
But he writes them well. They're little psychos.
There's just not any good women in his books, really.
Well, there's not a lot of good people.
Who said anything about good women?
There's not a lot of good people in his books. But I just
That's
wanted to
true.
say about Lewis is I believe Lewis is fully capable of writing great women. He just doesn't always.
We could really scandalize some people in this section.
Yeah. Well, it's just that, like I mentioned earlier, there's a level of
My least favorite
deliberateness.
female character in all
Lucy
of Lewis.
Pevensey?
Lucy Pevensey.
Well, the Pevensey girls are just so much worse than the Pevensey boys.
Susan's pretty great.
Susan's
I like
good.
Susan, actually.
Both of
Just
them are
doesn't get a
worse
lot- she
than
doesn't get a lot of
Peter.
screen time.
Yeah. And that's part of it is just when he has girls with little screen time, he doesn't always
great.
make the most
Yeah,
of it.
Jill's
Jill is
awesome.
my favorite girl in Narnia.
Yeah, she's awesome.
excellent. But just when the girls feature for less time in Lewis's books, they tend to make way less of an impression.
However,
And that's
Lucy
not
was,
the case in Tolkien.
in it.
Tolkien, very few women. People will fuss about that sometimes, and I'm like,
But they were
it's
awesome.
totally reasonable given the plot he's doing. But when the women appear, they're women, and they tend to have an impression. Versus Lewis, where it's like Susan is there less, so she's less interesting and matters less than the boys.
Lucy's actually present, though, and I just don't
Lucy's
like her
just
very much.
a little goody two-shoes.
Yeah.
Caspian, meets his wife in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and it's just hot Stargirl.
Yeah.
Wanders off stage.
No
That's
impression.
how royal weddings are.
That is how it works.
Yeah.
No personality impression at all. None.
So.
Sexist. No, it's just.
You just asked for a poorly written woman.
I don't think Stargirl's poorly written.
Well, I'm not like
She's
she's
not much of a
such a
character.
false
She's
thing.
not
It's
really
just
there.
there's so little impression of anything. Erebus is good.
So Erebus is amazing, but if you
Orwell
if you
is
look
his best woman, in my opinion.
she's also
She's
fantastic.
amazing. It's
so
just
I want to basically, as you go, I
Psyche.
want to know, when you say women are hard to write or women have been written badly historically, we've now gone through a bunch that Lewis hit very well.
All I was saying is that he's
So,
a bit hit
Till We
and
Have
miss
Faces,
sometimes. 'cause
multiple
he's got
women.
misses.
I can think of one.
Lucy.
Yeah.
I think Susan counts.
No.
No, Susan's actually cool.
100% wrong. Eh.
Fine.
Now, Susan doesn't get a ton of airtime, but there is a lot more complexity, even in the whole lipsticks thing. And she's been drawn away, and did she forget
Yeah.
Narnia, and is she going to come back? There's actually something more interesting in Susan than in Lucy. Lucy's, I'm just going to say it, Lucy Pevensey is a great placeholder for the reader to put themselves in a place where they get to like roll around and climb on a lion. As a little kid, I'm a little kid and I'm getting to play with a lion this big, this lion loves me and that's great. Like, that's cool. Her dynamic with Aslan is the thing that we all desire. Mm-hmm. And so that'd be really fun. But her little sweetness, her little super duper.
Maybe it's just that I don't find his placeholder women very compelling because Lucy, like I said, is a bit of a placeholder girl. So Psyche.
Lucy's not a placeholder girl. Lucy is, I think, it's dangerous to say. I just think she's a badly written character.
Yeah.
And I don't think that she's badly written to his intention. I think that he is succumbing to a little more sentimentality and sentimentalism than is good and right in terms of like aesthetic balance.
Yeah.
I think the aesthetic balance is off on Lucy Pevensey. On Psyche, a little bit, but Psyche's an idea.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the point.
That's what
she's
not.
She's not a woman. No. She's not a woman.
Or a woman.
She's nothing.
Neither.
She's just this element in the story.
Yeah.
She is like
more than a character.
She's gold.
She's gold.
Like you found
she's not
gold. And so this is not the story of gold.
It's about
This
Orwell,
is the story of false gold
excellent.
That envies gold. Mm-hmm. And so Psyche is just a block of gold sitting there. And it has a certain gravitational pull, and it exposes the weaknesses of people around her, and it sends other people on journeys. Mm-hmm. So, like, she has a power, and she has this gravity, but she is not the one being explored. So Psyche is not the one with the story. She's shiny, and she's sitting there.
She is. She's just
and
a
so
shiny
it's not,
object.
Yeah, it's not super complicated. Lucy's actually on a kind of a journey, at least she should be.
She's kind of a main character, actually.
Yeah. In some ways, the main character.
Yes.
Yeah. But I also, maybe I could be wrong here, but I'll say I think Lewis was writing himself in Edmund, and I think that he was writing
Edmund is the best,
and he was writing the kind of sweetness in Lucy that he found provoking. Mm-hmm. Like, so he admired it, but I think that it is actually the trigger for somebody who has a bad attitude, somebody who. So you think about Lucy. If Lucy is Harriet, and she's very simple. And she is. She's not complicated. She's very simple, and she's very sweet, and she's very authentic, and her faith is real, and she has that. But she's a very simple person. A complicated, more intelligent character could be very provoked by that, and struggle with it. So Edmund, the brother, being very provoked by having a super sweet little sister, I get, and so I think she's a little bit provocation for Lewis as Edmund, and I could be completely wrong about this. Maybe Lewis was just succumbing to Victorianism. I don't know. But my guess is that she's a bit of a trigger for Lewis. And Lewis is in that Edmund place. That's a perspective he's writing from. But if I rattle through, and I think Aravis is phenomenal.
She's great. That's true.
Susan is...
okay.
No, she's not okay.
I like Susan, actually.
Susan has very little screen time. But there's this deft brushstroke. It's like a very deft impression in the corner. But she's not on a full... explored journey.
No. Jill's great. Yeah.
Fantastic. Stargirl, another brushstroke. Like, she's the bride who's brought in.
Yeah.
In this royal pairing, but Caspian is not that interested himself. Most of his dynamic issues are external, right? Mm-hmm. So if we circle all the way back and we jump back into this claim that women are hard to write, you could rattle, and I would also, I'd be
Lewis is
I'd be
a pretty
remiss
top
not to
tier
mention
author, though.
He is, and I would mention Jane. A lot of people have trouble with Jane and That Hideous Strength.
I actually think she's.
I didn't bring her up on purpose because I know he really likes her.
I also like her. Actually.
I think she's great.
I think she's a really well written character
on a very interesting journey.
Yeah,
and I do think that Lewis is, even with Lucy, I do think that even though I don't love Lucy Pevensey the most, I do think that Lewis is honest about the nature of her temptation. Mm-hmm. And I think he is telling the truth. So you said that men don't understand women, women lie about women, including to themselves. I do think Lewis understands women.
Okay, this is not a universal statement.
Yeah.
Too late. You can't, no take
It wasn't.
That's why I said this is just the quippy thing.
Sure, but
it does not apply to.
It's a good.
Like I said, you have to be purposeful and observational, and I believe the best authors are.
I'm trying to think of a good example. badly written woman by a man. Because I would say a good example of a woman who lies about women, I think, would be Jane Eyre, actually, in the Brontes.
Okay.
I think that would be a good example of lying.
Well, I'm trying to think of a historical, like a literature thing, because when I think about being a little despondent about being a little despondent about the lack of female characters, I'm frequently thinking about modern and movies.
Yeah. Just trying to like look back. Like when was the worst?
So, but jumping to Emma
Okay.
and Gwyneth Paltrow. And now we're going to circle back to something that I think is true, maybe. Possibly.
Maybe. Okay.
Movies, characters who are good. There's something that happens to writers often, which is that the physics of what they've written doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so, you know, somebody leaps from this building to that building, and this is just a very simplistic example, but people can say, sure, in their head, and they kind of wave their hands, and they don't visualize it, and they don't do the math.
Then you stick it in a movie.
And then you have to show it.
Yeah.
And so when you're trying to, and this is just a very simple example, when you're trying to write something like that, and everybody can just like come along with you, and then you actually have to visualize it and put it on screen, and they have to see it happening and believe it, and that's very, very different. Mm-hmm. I am not, this is why I asked you if you know Harriet's in real life. I think that Harriet is actually a little bit of that in the book. And what I mean by that is that if you did say, hey, we're making a movie and we're making it exactly the way the book says, okay, find me a really beautiful, sweet girl and cast her as Harriet. Don't, accentuate the lower class nature. Don't accentuate her. She's not as pretty as Emma. Don't do any of that exaggeration. Let's just go with the book. Mm-hmm. And let's cast beauty number 1 and beauty number 2. Beauty number 1 is clever and has money. Beauty number 2 is super sweet, not that clever, dry, sarcastic.
Very little duckling.
Doesn't cut people down like Emma does. She's not like biting, and she's not rich. So she actually gets way more sympathy as beauty number 2 with no money, dealing with beauty number 1 as a friend. And she pulls a ton of gravity on screen. So if you do that and you actually go into your adaptation or your adaptation.
But that's the thing, does
the physics work? That's my question. Would it actually work? Could you do it? And I'm not saying you couldn't. I'm just saying if you followed it and you didn't adjust that, is there a reason why they did adjust that? If you followed it and you didn't adjust that, would it work?
I think the reason makes sense. I think a lot of, especially girls would make the exact same mistake as Emma if they're watching the movie.
Even if you include all of the low-class silliness that she does do in the book.
Because she is very silly in the book.
Yeah.
She's like holding on to like
handkerchiefs and bandages that he gave her in a little box.
Like, what are you doing?
I mean, why not? Go ahead, continue.
So she does do the little silly things, and they're like, wow, Emma, you're so amazing.
She is not supposed to be as pretty as Emma in the book.
She's just supposed to be very pretty.
But she's supposed to be pretty.
That's why she's beauty number 2.
Right? She's supposed to be pretty, sweet, dumb. Like, not actually should be marrying up in class. Like, she wouldn't be able to handle that.
Should be marrying a really nice Mr. Martin.
I think that it makes sense in the book. However, I do think that possibly if you cast that in the movie, like 1-to-1, I could definitely see people being much more sympathetic with her and agreeing with Emma. Not necessarily liking her more, but actually also being like, yeah, why is she? Like, why
doesn't she deserve a
why
lord?
doesn't she deserve more?
But you see what I'm saying in terms of like,
I understand.
But that's the thing is like, could you do it in such a way that it ends up actually depicting it in a way where at the end of the story, they all go like, oh, yeah, like I did side with the wrong thing through it, but I've been called out the way Emma was called out. That's what I'd kind of like, especially since it's a real problem that girls do. I would rather a realistic depiction where you call them out on it. I would also
like that. I like the audience kind of being on Emma's, like agreeing
the girl
with Emma.
Audience.
Yeah, agreeing with Emma and then finding out through the story the same thing that Emma does. Because I think even in the book, that's kind of the way it works. Where there's a little bit of sympathy with Emma herself, where it's like, you kind of understand.
Yeah, you do want the best for your friend.
But I don't know how possible that is to do in a movie completely.
I bet you could. I bet it'd be hard.
It'd just be difficult. So
And
I do understand
still
the
have
changes.
people who would be like, well, Harriet did.
I do
deserve
understand
better.
the change. I just think it makes it less nuanced.
Well,
So if you're gonna do,
That's why I actually still like the Gwyneth
well,
Paltrow version.
one of the things
I don't
that-
think it destroys the movie. I think
Yeah,
a lot of
the
the
book,
point is
yeah.
still
But
conveyed.
one of the things that you could, when we're talking about what to exaggerate in order to correctly depict it, what I'd exaggerate instead of Harriet's low classness and beneathness, I would exaggerate how much Emma was wrecking her relationship with Mr. Martin. So it's like,
I think I just would have skipped the exaggeration of her being like a lot less pretty.
yeah, but I'm saying
And
I'd
I even think
skip
you
that.
could
I'd
continue
skip
the
that.
exaggeration of her low
But the
classness.
Mr. Martin,
Maybe.
the Mr. Martin thing is what I would harp on, where like Emma she isn't being sweet and like I want the best for my friend. She's actually nuking her friend's healthy relationship because of her own prejudice against Mr. Martin.
and I will say that a lot of girls who do that because they can,
Yeah,
for no other reason than they can.
I have seen that.
It's like stepping on a bug on the sidewalk. It's like it's there and I can do it.
Yeah.
And so like, why did you just kill that thing to a little boy?
Because I could.
Because I could and it was there.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot,
Yeah.
actually.
I
I
just
would
think
just-
Emma could be really convicting for a lot of girls if it was actually delivered as is.
I think the book is really convicting for girls. I don't think the movies
Neither of them are.
Even though I enjoy the Gwyneth Paltrow one and think it's worth watching. I
No
don't think
girl
it's-
would watch that and be like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what I do,
It's
and
like,
that's the
oh,
problem.
I've made that mistake or whatever. Like no girl, at least we can't really say no girl because
No girl ever.
We're
I have
not every
spoken
girl.
with every single girl.
Like I don't think the
Done.
movies are even remotely as convicting as the book, or show the feminine flaws as well. But it might just be hard to portray in the correct way. I think that's also possible. I still don't think they're as good.
We'll have to talk at some other point about whether or not women are actually hard to write.
But we
But-
agree that there's lots of badly written ones.
Of course, there's lots of badly written men
True.
as well. Many.
At some point,
But
we wanted
men-
to talk about the men written by women.
But
that we can rip it to
men are
pieces.
simple. Yeah, men are very relatively simple, and so it's not as hard. I could say it's not as hard to write a man.
Yeah, okay.
It shouldn't be, but some men are not that simple. So it's like the bulk of them are, and some are quite complicated and are torn up by contradictions. And if you want to see the handling of contradictions really effectively, you look at The Great Divorce and the characters that he has who are like paralyzed with various internal contradictions and loves and hates, but that's male and female. Where he's got a woman who's vain and is paralyzed by vanity. She doesn't want people to look at her in heaven. She's ashamed, and she ought to be. She's terrible, but she cannot. She's not inaccurate.
Yeah.
She has it right that this is very embarrassing. It's very embarrassing to be seen like this and to be like this. She's factually correct, but she has to forget herself completely, and so they use a stampede of horses, for her to look away from herself and forget herself for a minute and look to the angel. I think Lewis gets it. I think he really gets female temptation. I think he really gets male temptation.
This is a very smart dude.
I do think that he oversimplifies some things. I think all writers have to.
Yeah.
And so the one I'm the most forgiving about is the Green Lady in Paralandra, because you're trying to write an unfallen Eve, whatever.
It's
Yeah.
very hard.
Yeah, I get that.
okay, fine.
Noble
No
attempt.
intent.
Nice try.
That's rude.
Nobody's really written Eve well anyway. So.
I do think that Jane Studdick's actually a fantastic character. And
I love her.
But I think that she is a testimony to your point about not wanting to tell the truth. Women not wanting to tell
Women
the
are
truth
very
about women.
uncomfy with that character.
And Jane is a bit honest. There's just a little bit of
a little bit of, I didn't want to talk about that.
yeah, it's like that's
Nah,
that's just a
hide
little
that one away.
it's a little unpleasant. Now I'm not saying that every scene is perfect or every piece of motivation is perfect, but she's an interesting character. She's a great character. Ivy Maggs, great character. Mrs. Dimble, great character.
Okay, I take back my Lewis comment.
Yeah.
Just mostly Lucy, okay?
Yeah, just Lucy Pevensey rubs us just a little bit the wrong way.
Yeah.
I get it. But Emma is such a good book. And I'll kind of get your thoughts here, then we can finally just excuse ourselves. If you're going to do an Emma right now, we're like, hey, I've got $10 million and I'm going to make Emma
Want to just keep
right
the
now.
$10 million?
Yeah, just gonna keep it.
And I'm going to do modern, contemporary,
Okay.
and Emma in the age of social media.
Yeah.
Like,
Interesting, actually.
sort of like, okay, so Emma is what? She's an influencer? Is she just a girl about town with a bunch of followers and money? You know, it's like overposting. But if you were to tell Emma in the age of
What would she be
socials,
doing?
and you have influencer 1 and influencer 2 with Harriet, it actually could be really fun.
That
Yeah.
could be fun. And
So you should do that.
okay, sure. Want to give me $10 million?
No, I want you to write the screenplay
Make $10
starting
million.
now for some screenplay contest.
Fine.
Ready, set, go.
The deadline is like not very far away for
Yeah,
us.
ready,
if you're
big
talking about what I'm
break.
talking. There's a late deadline. I
Just
normally
write it.
hit the late deadline.
Yeah, your odds would be
Yeah.
pretty low hitting the late deadline. But honestly, I
feel
think it'd be a really good script to try to write. I think it'd be really interesting.
I
Yeah, I
think,
think it
one
could
of
be.
the things that the Gwyneth Paltrow one did really well and the new one didn't was just the fact of making Emma actually likable. Because you see her. And I think that might be difficult doing her as like a big influencer.
Yeah, you'd have to think
I
about
could see
how
it being
she couldn't just be an influencer. She would need
No.
other.
She has a life that
Yeah.
people love to follow. It's not.
it would be
couldn't
that. It wouldn't be
It
I'm
wouldn't
posting
be
for
I'm
you.
an
Yeah.
influencer. It would be like I post sometimes and everyone's obsessed with me.
Yeah, because I have the
'Cause I'm
nicest
awesome.
horses.
Because I have the nice
I have the nicest horses. I'm the coolest person. I don't even have to try, but I am trying. You just can't tell.
Yeah. It would be, you would have to be careful because I feel like you can make an influencer a very,
Very unlikable
Very evil.
person.
yeah, like a very
Evil.
unlikable
Knievel.
character, like obsessed
I
with
would watch
yourself.
this movie though.
Yeah, you
I
know.
would
I'd be
too.
interested.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would. I think that it might be doomed to failure.
Everybody watch my movie.
If you're honest about,
If you're really honest and you do Harriet accurately and you do the whole thing,
Yeah.
interesting.
it might bomb though. I don't think people will love
I feel like
it.
the standards for movies are pretty low right now.
That's true.
Let's be real.
Okay, let's write that script. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay, well, you guys should wrap up. I'm not the host, so you should go ahead and close out your first
How do
episode.
you do that?
Second episode.
Second episode. There is
There's
no first episode
This has been episode 2.
of Help, Help, We're Being Repressed.
Because we're being repressed by being given
Yeah.
mics, you know.
Yeah, there's a joke in that title.
No, there's no joke.
a little yokum.
It's serious.
A little
Super
yokum
serious.
I'm being abused with a public
with
voice.
a microphone and a camera.
Yeah.
No one wants that in this day and age. We hate it. Let me
Yeah.
be oppressed and not allowed to work.
Yeah,
You know,
Put me in the kitchen.
All right. Well,
Get me out of here.
Get me out of here.
yeah, let's go.
I wanna
That
make-
ends our
I want to make
podcast.
cinnamon
And-
rolls. Bye.
This has been Help, Help, They're Being Repressed by me. All right.